Mr. Houseman, I'm very glad to be here with you today and to have the opportunity to interview you for Film Forum listeners. How did you get interested in motion pictures in the beginning? Was the beginning of your career a theatrical one?
I made not exactly a false start, but an entirely irrelevant start. For 10 years I was in the wheat business, in the grain business, and then at the age of 30, when the Depression came, I found myself almost compelled to follow one of the two double careers that I had been following for some years, and I began to concentrate on writing and on the theater. And from the theater, almost inevitably, if one is interested in the larger aspects of dramatic art, one gravitates into the mass media. I did a lot of radio, and then I found myself in motion pictures.
Could you tell us something about the way that you approach a motion picture from the producer's point of view?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer because, as you know, the function of the producer is really so vague and so completely indeterminate that a producer can be anything from a businessman who is clever at raising money or adding up figures, or he can be a very valuable collaborator of the author and or the director and everyone concerned with the film. The most valuable producer is the one who makes working conditions for his collaborators as stimulating and as exciting as possible. And to do that, I think he must, to some extent, participate in their work, not in an arbitrary fashion or not instructing them how to write or how to direct or anything of that sort, but he must collaborate with them in developing the nature of the project in which they are then going to do the specialized work.
In other words, participate in the creative aspect of the production.
That's right. As far as I'm concerned, this is the only fun of being a producer. The bookkeeping elements, the executive elements of it are very dull indeed. As far as I'm concerned, there are other people who enjoy them very much.
What standards do you like to apply in terms of communicating to a mass audience?
I think you have to face the fact that you are making a dramatic entertainment for a large audience, but the aesthetic levels of a large audience are not necessarily lower than those of a small audience. There are certain works which are, because of their specialized nature, probably are not attractive or comprehensible to an unlimited audience. On the other hand, there are equally or maybe greater works which are completely comprehensible. I shall never forget when we first previewed the film of Julius Caesar. We were pleased with it, but naturally we were anxious to know how the motion picture audiences would react, and not just the art house audiences, but the general audience. And so we took the film out and we previewed it in a small town in Southern California, which contained the largest chicken ranch in the world, a steel mill, and so on, which was not at all a cultural center. And the film played extremely well. They liked it very much. And among the cards, there was one which I treasure to this day, where a young man was asked how he liked the film. Yes, he liked it. How he liked the acting. Yes, he liked it. And then they said, which scene did you like best? And he said, the scene where Brutus gets his. And that was fine. That was exactly as it should have been.
Do you find that there's a difference in the degree to which you can explore a subject on an intellectual level between a theatrical audience and a motion picture audience?
I think so. I think it's largely a question of the degree to which a theater-trained audience or a habitual theater audience is able to absorb the complexities of the spoken word in realms where perhaps the audience that is exclusively accustomed to mass media is not in the habit of going. But I think they can very easily be brought into the habit of going if you feel strongly enough that you want them to go with you.
Do you think that part of the credit for that goes to people such as yourself who have been able to bring to motion pictures a deeper understanding of the medium and of the things which would appeal to an audience?
Not really. I think it's just the fact that the spoken word has become such an important part of the mass media that if you're going to go anywhere and not repeat the same 300 monosyllables over and over again, you find yourself attacking subjects and attacking material which calls for a greater expenditure of attention on the part of the audience.
Do you feel then that the American motion picture industry has more or less deepened its roots and is going in for a material which perhaps Louis B. Mayer 20 years ago would have considered as box office poison?
I think that's undoubtedly true, and in that respect, I think that we are asking them to be interested in far more elaborate patterns of emotional participation than the early motion pictures did or the early melodramatic theater did.
In other words, the vicarious experience is becoming less escapist.
It's still escapist, but on a more complex level. I don't think that people are going to cease hoping for escape when they turn to entertainment, but I think that their escape is of a less obvious or less facile kind.
Do you think that there's a sociological element involved in this, whereby a more mature general audience, which has read more, seen more, experienced more, and is able to bring more to an experience instead of just wanting to take from it?
Undoubtedly. And it's certainly what everyone who's engaged in making mass entertainment hopes for and encourages and watches for signs of all the time, because it makes the job of making mass entertainment far more interesting and far more stimulating for the person who does it.